Hello! Welcome to my sewing diary, where I'm documenting my progress as I level up my dressmaking skills so that I can make a handmade wardrobe that I love. To start off, I'm going through the book Love It for Stitch so that I can add a few more skills to my sewing tool belt. Right now I'm working on the Delphine Skirt. That is the current project that I'm on in the book, and it is a simple A-line skirt with an invisible zipper. For this project I needed fabric, a yard of 60-inch wide fabric is what it says. I needed thread, of course, interfacing, and an invisible zipper, and to install the invisible zipper I'm going to need an invisible zipper foot and a regular zipper foot. I'm going to use some denim that I already had, and the only thing I really had to buy was the interfacing and a zipper. I didn't work on this project in a big block of time. I split it up as much time as I could spare each day. Day one, I traced the pattern. Okay, as much as it's tedious to trace over patterns, you really get to know the shapes of the lines. You get to see that this is a curve here, this is straight. Because otherwise it would be easy to just not really notice that. Day two, I prepped the fabric and altered the pattern. So I'm getting ready to iron this denim, and this was basically gifted to me, and it was in a cardboard box in my mom's garage for like a billion years. Trying to figure out where the salvages are. I think this came off of a roll, that's my guess, and I'm thinking that this end, and then whoa, it goes way over here, this end is the salvage. It looks like somebody zigzag stitched along this end, and that's my best guess. I looked up videos on how to tell where the lengthwise grain is and stuff, and they said that the crosswise grain stretches more than the lengthwise, but this doesn't feel like either way it's any different. So anyway, I feel a little bad making a skirt out of this because it's like, it looks like it's enough fabric to make some pants, but I need to just make something, so I'm gonna go ahead and use it. The day I prepped the fabric, it was a really hot day, and I up and decided I was gonna cut 3 inches off of the skirt. I did some rough calculations on how long this skirt is going to be on me, and if I did it correctly, which I have no idea if I did, at this point the skirt will end up about knee length, and I would like it a little shorter, so I'm going to cut off 3 inches and see how that turns out. Day 3, cutting out the pattern. I had a bit of difficulty because my scissors are kind of dull and the fabric was pretty thick, but somehow I made it work. Day 4, I sewed the side seams. Day 5, I finished the side seams and I fused interfacing to the waistband. Okay, it's yet another day and I sewed the side seams, but then when I went to use the serger, threads broke, things stopped working, so I spent some quality time with the manual and a few YouTube videos, and I finally got the thing re-threaded and the tension sorted out. I'm going to finish the seams. Hopefully nothing else goes wrong before I run out of sewing time. Yeah. I'm actually proud of myself for troubleshooting the serger because I tend to not want to mess around with something that's new, and I tend to want to just stick to the things that I already know how to do. But I am forcing myself to learn to use this thing. I want to work with knits, and the serger is supposed to be really good for that, so it's either I learn how to do it now or I learn how to do it later, and it's actually really nice for finishing seams, so I'm glad that I got it sorted out. Alright, I'm fusing my interfacing. This one ended up cut shorter because somehow I cut it out the reverse of how it's supposed to be, so I just trimmed it down. It says to steam baste the corners. I don't know. We'll see if this is how you do that. I've got a press cloth, which I'm just using a piece of an old sheet that I've cut with pinking shears. Last time I did this, the interfacing stuck to my iron. So let's see if this goes a little better this time. I think it's going better. The instructions on the interfacing said to use the wool setting with steam, so that's what I'm doing. And it said to use a damp press cloth, which this is probably a wet press cloth. Okay, so then it said, I think it says to do 15-second intervals? Press firmly for 15 seconds. I think I'm gonna trim it down because otherwise it's just gonna stick to my ironing board. Day 6, I poked myself with a lot of pins. Ow, again. And I sewed the waistband. At this point, I suspected that the skirt would have some minor fit issues, but I decided to steam ahead. So I've trimmed my seam allowances. I used pinking shears and I ironed them out, and then I pinned the waistband to the skirt. And I was really tempted to not pin my seams because I did a quick try on of the waistband around my waist and it just barely fits me. But then I decided that I want to just make it up as is and see how it goes. I have a feeling that it would need to be altered because while the top part of the waistband fits me, the bottom part gets tight really quick because I think that my waist starts out smaller and then goes wider really quickly as like the inches go down. So I think that that may end up being something that I have to do to skirts that have the wider waistband. So I'm gonna go ahead and stitch this together. Day 7, I finished the seams on the waistband, practiced the invisible zipper. I didn't really want to do a practice zipper, but it turned out to be a really good idea. I sewed over some teeth. Alright, well, it's because I started going too fast. Good thing this is my practice zipper. Yep, you can't zip it up if you sew it over the teeth. That's a whole thing. Other than that, I did it. I picked out the stitches that were stopping the zipper from zipping up. This is my test zipper. And so I think it turned out pretty well. A couple things I would do different is that I would not stitch these parts all the way to the top because when you fold this down, now they kind of get in the way. And if it wasn't stitched there, I could move these to the side and that would work better. And I might want to move the zipper down just a smidge. I mean, it's almost fine right there. So I guess it was a good idea to do a test because I learned some things from that. So I'll just be unpicking this so that I can use the zipper again on something else. I installed the real zipper and I sewed the back seam and waistline facing. See, I could have gone up and stitched this a little bit closer, so I could still go back and do that and stitch this section close so I don't end up with this little sewing up 3/4 of an inch past the bottom of the zipper. That's what I was supposed to do. Alright, yep. There's no longer a little hole in the butt. I call that success. It's said to match up the notches, and my notches are at the bottom only, and when I put the waistband on, I matched those to the skirt. So either that's an anomaly in the instructions or my whole waistband is upside down. But either way, I'm going with it because it looks like it's the way it's supposed to be. So on this part, I sewed up the facing and the waistband on the sides, and then I sewed the facing to the waistband, and I actually did it all in the wrong order, but I think it's still gonna be okay. And now I'm supposed to trim this seam allowance right here, which is gonna be a little difficult because my scissors are dull and this is very thick fabric. Day 8, I trimmed the seam allowances, pressed the seam allowances, pull the seam along the top so it's not visible from the outside. But earlier she said to turn the garment right side out. Why are we turning the garment right side out if we're then going to press it from the wrong side? Tell me why. Where's my steam? Did I run out of water? Possibly ran out of water. There's my steam. I have a lot of bent pins now. Stitched the waistband down to the inside of the skirt. There were some moments where I thought that I couldn't fit the thick fabric in the machine, and I was threatened with the idea of having to do some hand stitching, but in the end I got it to work. Not without some casualties. Alright, well I guess I'm gonna have to repin this because I'm just not even catching it. Oh, I drew first blood. Okay, blood on project. I also hemmed the skirt, and that was the finish of the skirt. So I finished the skirt, I finished hemming it. It's actually done as is, and I've put it on Irma over here, and I am pinning pieces of paper to kind of mock up where I want my pockets to go. Oh yeah, I use this piece of yarn to mark where my natural waist is. So it turned out pretty well. There are some fit issues that, like the back right here, it does the same thing on Irma because I've padded out her butt to be my measurement. I don't know how you fix this. I mean, I imagine like maybe darts or something. So this is that. I mean, so this is kind of like a wearable muslin. It seems like maybe even just like taking out some of this fabric here in the back would like kind of like fix this. I decided not to add any pockets or do any adjustments to the skirt at this point. I wanted to move on to the next project and then later revisit this one. If I make the skirt again, I will need to sort out the fitting issues on a mock-up, preferably before I completely finish the skirt. Today I've paired the skirt with a thrifted blouse and a belt and some ballet slippers. When I first finished the skirt, I thought that the fitting issues would make it unwearable, but now that I've tried it on again, I really like it. I kind of feel like I'm on the Jetsons or something because it kind of like sticks out. Reminds me a little bit of a lampshade. Not that that's a bad thing or anything. It has a little 60s vibe to it. And next time when I make the skirt again, I will be adding pockets. We'll sort out the fitting issues that are in the back. But overall, it fits me pretty well. Just the pattern size that I used a size 4. That's it for now. I will see you on my next sewing adventure. Ow. I pricked myself. Ow. Ow.